Welcome to Neighbor. My name is Lynn Corum. I'm your host today, and today my guest is Chris Brown. Chris, thanks for coming on.
Nice to be here, Lynn.
Chris, you've been our guest before, and so we know a little bit about you, but let's refresh people's memories on a little bit about you, where you are right now.
Well, in December a year ago, my wife and I moved to Rivermead in Peterborough, New Hampshire, which is a continuing care retirement community. This was a hard choice for us to make, but as we get older, we can do fewer things, and maintenance of a country property got to be a burden, and so this was a good move for us.
So, but not too far away that we can't get you back here to chat about national issues. That's our topic here today.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the first one that a little bit about your background, though, to make all this make sense for people, is you worked in finance for many years.
Yes, my career was a financial analyst. I worked for various investment companies, mostly mutual funds, but I was a portfolio manager and an analyst, followed various industries. And since then, since retiring in 1990, I undertook to be a small business counselor with SCORE here in the Brattleboro area, and that introduced me to a lot of business problems, business issues that relate to Vermont, which has a continuing interest. Incidentally, they still have some of the problems over in New Hampshire. They're not quite as severe in certain ways, but they still have economic problems over there. So it's been an interesting tour.
Yeah. Well, one of the biggest economic issues is the issue of free markets versus government regulation, or not anti-free trade. Is there a term for anti-free trade? I'm not sure.
Perhaps isolationism.
Isolationism, okay, yeah. And everybody says, you can always find disappointing stories of people that were hurt by one system or the other. And I think it's an argument of which hurts the most, which hurts more people more. And that's the part where we don't recognize, which is, so that's it's always going to be an issue probably.
Well, part of the idea of capitalism or free markets is that people have a right to fail, and people do fail. In small businesses, there are various statistics around, but a substantial number of small businesses fail in the first year or two, and they go through this, and it's disappointing and discouraging for people, but it shouldn't stop them from trying. And that was one of the things I was doing with SCORE, was trying to help people to realize whether their business idea would work or not, and to try to help them make it work if I could. But there was no lack around here of entrepreneurial interest. There just wasn't any money. That was one problem. But people went in and they recognized that they might fail, and a good many of them did. But you can't save everybody. And so everybody has a right, should have a right to go into business if they want to, but recognize that they are very likely to fail, but shouldn't stop them.
I would imagine a business that would work, a model that would work best in a small area because of our small population would be a small storefront kind of thing that displays some products. But then you have to develop some kind of a mail-ordered internet business, online stuff, which then again requires some capital. And most are often that's the lacking piece.
That's the piece. We read now about various stimulating packages from the government. They want to put some money in the banks and have the banks loan it to small businesses. Well, a small business isn't going to borrow money unless they can see a market developing and unless they need it. And in many cases, what they need the money for, the banks wouldn't lend for. So there's kind of a gap here between what small business especially, needs and what the banks are able to provide. The banks have their own problems. They have a lot of real estate loans that are non-performing, which inhibits their ability to lend, so they're concerned about it. And so a small businessman that comes in and says, oh, I want to buy a building and put something in it, the
They're a little leery, aren't they?
their banks are gun shy about that. They've got buildings.
Why invest in another? Yeah.
And why invest in another?
Especially with a business that's not proven.
Yes,
Again,
but
that's a piece.
even if businesses are, I've read stories about businesses that have substantial assets, have a good cash flow, and the bank won't touch them. Bank won't touch a restaurant, for example. Well, we know about restaurants. They come and go pretty frequently. But it's, right now, it's a matter of, are the markets developing for people to tap into? Are there enough people willing to buy your product that you can make a go of it? And right now, people are scared. They don't know what's going to happen now. A lot of people are out of work. And so they're not spending the money, and we see it in business conditions everywhere.
Well, one of those things that influences business conditions are taxes. And we thought we'd talk about taxes for this particular segment. And so we have two theories of taxes. One that mostly conservatives or Republicans hold on to is if you lower the tax rates, business will thrive, generating more revenue, and therefore your tax revenues to the government will increase. And the other one is that we can't afford to lower the tax rates because we need that tax money, which is more the liberal Democrat angle at this. Which now we can't both be right, but it's interesting how we always it's like there's been no definitive. We know this works, and maybe you can speak to the inexact science of economics too on this.
How much time do you have?
Well, we have time.
Well, there are, as you say, there are a couple of conflicting theories here. I like to go back to the original idea, not mine, but an original idea that the purpose of a tax system is to raise revenue for government. And the best tax system is that which extracts the most feathers from the goose without provoking a squawk. And here's the problem, that we are trying to make people behave according to a certain fashion using the tax system, such as, for example, the home mortgage interest deduction to promote home ownership. And under this new commission that's just reporting now.
The Bowles and Simpson.
Simpson.
They're the spokespeople. Yeah.
Simpson Commission, which is provoking a lot of comment because it is pretty dramatic in some of its provisions. So, and we'll have to see how that works out. Nobody likes to pay taxes. We all say we recognize there is a need for taxes, but nobody really likes to pay them. So how do we do this? Well, we have an income tax in this country, and it is a progressive tax, which means that the more you make, the higher the rate of taxation is. It's been in place since 1918, and so that's a fact of life. We're not going to change it. What does it do, though? It extracts income from people according to how much they have made, not how much they own. It's not a wealth tax. It's a tax on current income. Now, over the years, the rates have changed. They were 91% top rate back just after World War II. Not many people paid that rate, but it was in place. And it's important to distinguish that these tax rates are marginal tax rates. That is, they tax the marginal dollar.